Hey, it's Tommy Gunn from Cracked Rabbit Gaming, and here's a tutorial for a Mario-style world map. I'm going to use RPG Maker MV, but this also works in Ace. There is a plugin I'm using for MV, but the script also exists in Ace, and you don't even have to use that if you don't want to. So this will definitely work in the older versions as well. This was actually a question someone had on the forum, so I decided to make a tutorial for it. I'm already partway done, so I'll show you what I have so far. So here is the world map that I quickly made, and you'll see my character here, and if I hit left on the keyboard, she will run all the way over to the next point, to the next little city, and then I can hit right, and I just tap one time and she runs the rest of the way, so I don't have to run myself, and then I can't move in any other direction. So it's just from these points, and then you can see it's a bigger world map here that goes all the way around like this. And I'll show you how I did that, and then we will improve it. And so here is, let me zoom out. So here's the full world map. So the way I'm doing this, first of all, obviously I built the world map, and then I'm using the region restrict plugin. So you'll see right here, Yanfly's region restrictions. So what this does is it just lets you use regions to block areas that you don't want your, whatever play, in this case, your player, you want to restrict the player, but you can also use it for other events too. So I have it set to the region 1 is to restrict the player. So as you can see, everything is blocked off, and it's really easy to do in MV because you have the fill tool. So you can just fill the entire thing with number 1, and then you just go back to the blank one, and then you just carve out the actual path of your world map. So that alone just lets me restrict the player from only being able to move in there. But that means you have to move there manually. So I can zoom back in now. We're not actually going to go to all these other points on the map. So then if I switch over so you can see the events, you'll see that my character starts off to the side because I can't have her start on another event, and this event is to go into this town. So the way the movement works is I just have an event here, and you'll see it's set to below characters, so you can walk over it, and player touch. So as soon as I hit left and walk onto it, then this event takes over. And you'll see I have a lot more move events than I need. See, it's actually only moving over 5 squares from here to get to this point. But the reason I added a whole lot, I think I have about 15 in here, is because that way I can just copy and paste this event everywhere. And if I open up the move route, you'll see I also have skip if cannot move and wait for completion. So I don't think you actually need wait for completion since it's on the player. But anyway, unfortunately, you can't use repeat movements. So the idea here is that the player will just keep moving all the way left until it hits the roadblock, until it hits one of those regions, and then that's why it's really important to have skip if cannot move, because that means it doesn't matter that I have all these extra ones in here, she'll just stop moving because it'll just cancel out all these other ones. But repeat movements, unfortunately, I can't just put one move left and then have it repeat it, because it'll just keep trying forever. Even though skip if cannot move is checked, it'll still keep trying forever, and it'll just lock up, basically. In Ace, there was a plugin that let you add script commands, so you could just say move left like times 20 or whatever. So you could just have one item here. Instead of having to hit the move left button 15 times, I could just type it in, move left, times 20 or whatever. So if one of those exists, it might have already gotten ported over to MV. So you can also use that, because that just does the same thing as putting it in here 15 times or whatever. So obviously that's here, so she moves left, and then I have the reverse here, move right. And then also up, and then of course down for this one. And so once you have those, the 4 different directions, it doesn't matter how big your world map is, you can just copy and paste those everywhere. So then I just copied this one to move right, copied it over here to move left. And as long as the route isn't more than 15 grids, 15 tiles away, then you're fine. You just want to make sure you have more than enough in here. Actually, this looks like more than 15. So just have more than you need here, and then you're fine. You can just copy them everywhere. And then on these points, I just have the simple transfer players. So I already have these other little maps here. I just did these. I just did two. I had like this one for the desert and then this one for the hillside, just so we can test this out. So that is, so since I have the character off to the side, that means as soon as the map loads, I have to transfer her over. And so up here, I have an event that's set to parallel processing, but then of course, remember to turn it off right afterwards. So I have it just turn itself off with a self switch. And then the second page is not set to parallel processing. And that just tints the screen black, transfers the player from where, it doesn't matter where the player is. The player gets transferred onto that first point, and then it also changes the player's speed. So she walks a lot faster. So she runs instead of just like walking slowly up the thing. And you can change that speed to whatever you want, but I just did it to the fastest. And then tints it back to normal. So first of all, let's actually make this a more like the actual game would be. So I want her to start off in this house. So we'll just switch, go right here and set the starting position for the player in this house. And then I already have this transfer event set to go to that position on the world map. So it's going to transfer right here. We're just going to pretend that this is like her house. This is her starting location. And so a few things that this map is missing right now is, well, first of all, the graphics. I want to upgrade this path. I just used the default graphics here. And then, so we want to make these paths better, and then we want to make these points better. But we also want to restrict it so you can't just move everywhere. I mean, maybe this is all you want. And if this is the kind of world map you want, then you're done, you can just have her go everywhere. But let's say we want her to complete a quest before the next, city opens up. So first of all, you'll just have this first one open here. So we have her starting out here, and now this means I have to change this event up here, because this is going to do all this stuff that I don't want anymore. It does set this speed, and I do want that to happen. But also, I want that to happen every time she enters this map. And then maybe I want to change the speed back to normal once she actually enters the city. So that we want to leave. But we don't want to use a self switch anymore, because that will only have this play out one time, and then it's done. We also don't need to transfer the player because we're already transferring her since we're not starting on this map. So get rid of the self switch. We can delete this page. But what we do want to do is erase the event. So erase event, and that way it will run every single time she comes back to the world map. This will run. So we can also get rid of all these tints. So that's really all we're going to do right now, is just change the speed to 6. And that's it. And then just erase the event. So that's a lot simpler now. So we can save this and try it out. I should be able to just hit refresh. So now we are here. And yeah, she's very slow. And now she's faster. So that is fine. And now we want to add some quests. So let's, so what we want to do is we want to restrict her going up. So I'm going to change this, and this is an event we want when she is able to move up. So this actually we want this to be the second page. So we're just going to copy and paste this page so it's the second one, and then we can clear this first page. So we still have the second page here, and we're going to have to set something to tell it when to run. But right now we want to restrict her, so I'm going to change this into some sort of sign. So on tileset B, this is fine. You know, we could make better graphics for it, but let's just try this. It's just a signpost, and we could have it say like you can't, you know, access this yet, whatever. And we want this to be same as characters because we want it to actually block her from moving, and the action button, that's fine. And then this page, we can put it in here now, even though this doesn't exist yet. Let's just say variable 5. So this is going to be like the quests completed or map access, you know, whatever you want to call this. So map access, and so this is going to be the second level. You know, she starts off in her first level, and then this is number 2. So we want it to be 2 or greater will allow this to happen, and that should be fine. So you'll see now it's a signpost, but then once we complete quests, it'll switch to nothing, so it won't be blocked, and it'll be below the characters and all that. Now we have to add, and I should also set that variable here. So I'm going to go up in the corner and add an event, and if this was the starting map, then I'm sure I would have a whole bunch of stuff going on here, you know, setting how much gold she starts with, and, you know, any variables you have to add, stuff like that. So we will get this variable map access, and we want to set it to 1. So yeah, so she can access the 1 level so far. And that just, you know, we could leave it at 0, but then the numbers would be off by 1. It's just easier to keep it in your head as, you know, level 1, level 2, and all that. So now we want this to run immediately. You could just do auto run, whatever, but we're gonna get rid of it with a self switch, so it doesn't matter because we're just gonna turn it off right away. New event page, self switch A. So, and this is not set to parallel. So we might be adding more stuff to this later. But so this is just, you know, we want to make sure to turn this off because we don't want it to set it back to 1 every time she comes back to this map, because otherwise that would break the progression. So, so it's set to 1. Now we want her to do a quest in the desert. So this is already set to transfer to the desert. And here is the desert. And I've already created a character here and a transfer event back to the map. So this person, all you have to do is talk to them, you know, to complete the quest. So that's why I've already put this in. You've completed my quest. And now let's change this variable. So map access, you know, again, you could name this to something else. If it's easier for you to think of quests completed or something, you could call it that. So I'm just going to have this add 1. You know, depending on, you know, you can do this however you want. Maybe you're going to have multiple quests and you just have to complete any one of the quests and it'll allow you access, or maybe you want it so if you complete multiple quests, you can access the 4th level, even though you haven't gone to the 3rd level yet, whatever. So you can either have it just set it directly to number 2, or you can just have it add 1. I'm just going to have it add 1. And then the self switch turns this off. So you can't do this multiple times. Otherwise, we could just keep talking to this person and it would just keep raising that number, and then we'd be able to access the whole world map. Obviously, this is the easiest possible quest because all you have to do is talk to this person. So there you go. That should work fine. And then I'm going to copy this and also put this person here, and you know, we can change the graphic, sure. We'll just change it to this person and then also change it on the second page. So same thing here, and this makes it easier for me just because then now I don't have to change this because it's still just adding 1, so we know that'll work. If I had it set it equal to 2, then I would have to change that to 3. Not a big deal, but anyway. So let's try this out. I think we have everything here. Let me refresh this. I didn't close the window, so okay. Oh, and she's going to be running really fast once I enter the next thing. So now I can't go up. I can go back to my home. Oh, actually, interesting, yeah. So I hit the enter button. I didn't actually put anything on the sign, did I? Well, I'm not sure what would happen there because I'm standing on an event, but I'm also looking at an event, so one of them takes priority. I think actually the one that's under you takes priority. So if you want that sign to say something, you might have to do something else. Anyway, so now let's talk to this person. You've completed my quest. That should raise the variable. We could check it with the debug tools, but I'll just go back here, and the sign's gone, and now I can go up. So that works. Cool. And, well, so I didn't make the second one here. So let's do that. Let's copy, paste, go back here, clear it, change this to that same signpost blocking you. And then we want this variable, same thing, but we want this to be 3. So you want to be able to get to the 3rd level. And we can save that, refresh. Yeah, so that signpost is pretty low and looks pretty bad. But anyway, it is working. It's there. Now let's talk to her. Hey, we've completed another quest. And now the signpost is gone. So there you go. So let's jump over to Photoshop and make this look a lot better. Okay, here we are in Photoshop. And I already have this tile set, this is world B, open, and I'm just gonna copy over it. I don't care. You might want to add a new tile set, make your own custom one, whatever. I'm just gonna erase the ones that are here and just copy over it. And I already have the grid set up to 48 pixels because we are in MV, so it's 48 pixels. So we can zoom in here. And right now I'm using these, this, I guess it's a dock or something, and I was just using that temporarily. So I'm just going to copy over those and make it a little bit better, more to my liking. So let's just grab this. Well, so whatever you want to do. If you want to delete these completely for now, we can just do that. Just remember which one is which. So just because I already have them on there. So horizontal is first. And we'll just add something like this. Let's make it just kind of a neutral gray color. We can actually, this is a style thing that we're going to have to figure out what we like later on. But I'm just going to do this, and I could have used a stroke or something, but then it would go over into the other sections, so I'm just doing this quickly. So we can just do something like this, and then maybe turn the opacity down a little bit, and then it'll show what's underneath it. So I'll duplicate that. this isn't really a Photoshop tutorial here, so I'm just kind of doing this quickly. And so we'll try this out and see, and maybe it won't look that good, and maybe it's not perfectly even and stuff like that, but good enough. And okay, so I exported it as a ping file, and then I just copied it over. This is just, I just have a whole bunch of folders open, don't worry. This is a program called Cuter. Anyway, so I copied it over into my project file, which is just the generically named project one, because this is just tutorials, and into the tilesets folder. So I just overwrote the existing world B. So now let's go over, I don't know if I can just refresh and it'll show up, or yeah, there you go. So it showed up. So there, so, you know, I don't know if I really like that, showing the stuff underneath. Looks a little bit weird, and could maybe also make it a little bit smaller. I don't know, you know, style is up to you. And then we also want to replace these. So you'll notice, of course, that these end right here as at the grid line. Yeah, so I wonder what I'll have to do to get this to refresh. Oh, there, just switch maps and then it refreshes. So yeah, so these end at the grid lines, so it kind of might look weird because the path doesn't go all the way over to this. So what we could do is make like a corner joint here, and we're going to change that graphic underneath to be on the event anyway. So we could make the corner if we want. Maybe I'll just skip it for now. But anyway, you can do that if you want it to look a little bit better. But I guess while I'm here, what I will do is get rid of these points. So I'm going to go to the B tile and just select the empty point up here just to erase, because I don't want to erase the stuff at the ground underneath. So I'll just, so you see that way all the grass, the multi-layers and stuff still remain. No, actually, I don't know if it's a multi-layer, but anyway. So yeah, so that is good, and then we will go back to Photoshop, and maybe I'll just set these to 100 and make them a little bit smaller. Of course, you can just, you know, however you want to draw these is up to you. You can just use the paintbrush or the pencil tool or whatever. You know, I'm using just the rectangle tool, and yeah, so now when I resize it, it actually gave it a little bit of multicolor edge here, and that's fine. It kind of looked cool, so we'll see how that looks. Okay, here we are back. I exported that one, and so now you can see they are thinner, and now it looks weird because there are no points for the different levels. But let's fix that now. So this looks a little bit better, whatever. Still, you know, maybe make it, would make it look better than that. But anyway, for this demonstration, we're fine. So I've already created this file called map points, and I have the exclamation and the $sign to make sure that it is a single character file, and you know, it's doesn't have the, you know, the edge, whatever, all the, it doesn't change it so when you're in grass and stuff and blah blah blah. Anyway, read the manual. So if you need to know what that stuff does. So I'm just going to make some map points here, and let's make them circles, and I don't know how big I want these to be. I'll move this down a little bit, so something like that, and just so we can see it, let's change the color. And I want to copy this over, so I'm actually going to make this animated, so it kind of looks better. Now I also just hit Control J to copy this. So I actually do want one gray point. So sorry if this is confusing and if I'm going too quickly for you, but I have all these three on one layer, and then I have just a single one down here because I want that just to be like the neutral one before the level is unlocked. And the reason I'm doing that is so I can do a gradient, and it's off the screen. So I'm going to change this to something, well, I don't want that to be orange. Let's do, yeah, something like this. And again, I might end up changing this. And I'm going to throw a stroke on here too. Maybe something like this. A little bit bigger, put it on the inside. Yeah, so we'll see how this looks. Again, this might look awful, and we will just have to find out. And then let's copy the stroke over here, but make it a gray color. Let's do that. Let's make that darker and make this a little lighter. Whatever. So we'll save that, and I don't want a background because I want it to be clear behind it. And let's save that and see what happens. All right, I exported that as a PNG file, and then I copied it over into my project, into the image/characters folder. So here it is, $, map points, PNG file. And let's jump over and see if this works. So let's edit our events and see if that is in here. And it is, it's already there. And this first one is always going to be available. So we can just put that on there and then turn stepping animation on, because that is going to animate it across this way, back and forth. That's how animation works. So it's going to, be neutral, then go dark, lighter, light, dark, darker, back and forth. And we don't need walking on, but also we're not having it walking, so it doesn't really matter. Direction fix to be on the safe side, we can do that also. It probably doesn't matter though, because it's no, same as characters. I don't know why that's there. Yeah, we want to be below the characters. I guess I never actually used at that point, so okay. So that should work. So there it is. And then this one, this one actually is also going to be on all the time. So stepping, that's why it changes it when you add an image. That's right. Okay. So just be careful about that. So this one is always going to be available too, so that's fine. And then this is the one, although I guess this is not a very good demonstration because I made it so far away, I don't know that you'll be able to see it. So we want this one to start off, so I have this as transferring the player. So this is actually going to be the second page. So I'll have that on, stepping, below, whatever. But then we will copy and paste this to the second page. Well, actually, I guess it doesn't matter if this transfers here, but anyway, we want the this to be there, and now we don't want stepping animation because I did not make any other ones here, so we don't want. And actually, again, this doesn't matter because you won't actually be able to click on it or get to it or anything, so this really doesn't matter. But we do want to make sure this is set correctly, and when you can access the third stage, which is this one, this will turn on. And so we want to make sure this page is set up correctly. So that should work. I'm going to copy this and just paste it down here, just so I hope that's in view and we can see that. So now let's jump over and see if this is working. Okay, so now you can see it is animated. Actually, we could turn that animation higher. Oh, and by the way, you can use the mouse here too to click around. If you click, obviously if you click in the correct spots or along the path, but also if you click, somewhere else, she also will try to go in that direction. So that all works. Let's talk to her, run back here, and now this, oh. Yeah, so we made a mistake somewhere. Let's see. Yeah, so I messed up the exact thing that I was explaining earlier about having the numbers correct. So if this is stage 1, then we want to actually start out with access to stage 1 and stage 2 because we're starting here and there's nothing to do here. In this case, in your game it might be different. So we actually want to have this start as access is set to 2 because you want to be able to access 1 and 2. And then this is set to 3 because you're going to be able to access stage 3, and this is set correctly, and then this is going to be 4 because see how confusing these numbers can get even when you're trying to do it correctly. So yeah, I'll copy and paste this one, just delete that to be sure. Okay, now let's see if this is working correctly. Refresh. Oh, and I forgot to change the animation speed. So you can see that, oops, that point up there is still off. Complete the quest, run back. Yay! Now that one is lit up. Now let's complete this quest, run back down, and there we go. And obviously we did not add the points into the other ones. So let's go and fix that speed. Forget which of these matters for this. It might just be speed. Let's save it and see. Yeah, so there you go. So now it's animating faster. So we can change that for all of these if we want. I won't do all of them, but do that one. Another thing, I could add in this road underneath here, even though it's not going to line up in every direction. We can kind of line it up if you don't feel like making the corner joints, which really I would make the corners for something like this, but we can just kind of add some of these in here so it'll fill out a little bit, and then I can copy these over, and of course I will have to change the numbers on these. It's just going to open all of them up once we hit this. And, again, maybe that's what you want. Maybe you're going to have a point where once you access a certain quest or enough quests, then they all just open up or something. So it's up to you how you want to do that. Here's how it looks now with these going at a faster speed. So I still don't like how any of these graphics look really, so maybe I'll go tweak these a little bit. So now I just grouped these two layers into a third group so I can throw a color overlay on it. I don't know how many of these these little Photoshop tricks I should be explaining, since, you know, I could do a whole separate series on Photoshop, but anyway, you should learn that on your own time, I suppose, because it would take way too long to talk about all this stuff here. So then we can try some different blend modes and see if one of these looks better. Maybe I'll just do overlay and all right, I just changed the graphics a little bit. I turned it into more of a tan dirt road here, so that blends in a little bit better. And these, you know, gold points, I added the stroke that also has a gradient on it, so that outside border also changes color, sort of opposite from the inner color. And so it definitely stands out. You know, maybe it stands out too much for you. Maybe you don't even want it to animate. Maybe you just want it to be a solid color. You know, totally up to you. But looks a little bit better now. And still didn't do those corner points, but anyway, we basically have this working world map now. I hope that all made sense and I didn't go too quickly. If you have any questions, of course, leave a comment. One thing I forgot to mention is that I'm obviously using straight lines for all of these points here. You could, you know, like in Mario World anyway, probably some of the other ones, they have curved paths between some of these points. And you could do that. You would just use the region restriction, you know, and carve out more of a, you know, zigzag. There isn't really a curve, but, you know, you'd zigzag it. And then in that case, I would probably use a pathfinding script, because that would make it much easier. Because then, like, Shaz has a pathfinding script where I think you can just tell it the coordinates. So I would just, you know, say I had this curve and the second point was up here. I would just have this, you know, this event that's right here. Then it just tells the character to move to those coordinates, and then the pathfinding script, you know, just does the zigzag for you. So you don't have to tell it go up one, left one, up one, left one, because that would be very tedious. So that would be annoying. Also, another thing is that in this, you know, I just used a single variable to unlock each level here. But maybe you'll have multiple things you'd have to complete in order to unlock the next one, and you wouldn't even be using one variable. You'd be using multiple variables, or just you'd be checking for different items and, like, you know, all this. You know, maybe you need a sword or something, some special sword item that you had to find in order to get through one, you know, this first barricade, and then there's some totally different item you need to get through the second one, or the next one, and the next one. And you know, so obviously this is a very simple game that I have set up just to show off the map, but all that stuff, you know, you would surely make it much more complicated in your game. But I hope this gives you an idea of how to do it. And oh, I just noticed I have some other flaws here, like this path is overlapping the forest here, and the tile underneath here is wrong. So there are definitely some other little things that I would go and fix on this. And like magic, it's fixed. All right, I just went and fixed those little things. Those were annoying. So that's it for now. I hope that helped, and please like and subscribe.